Hi, everyone. It's Kelly from the Hub. Here today, of course, with our friend Pastor Jim from Bergstrasse. How are you there, friend?
Good morning. Good, good.
Good.
It's a
Good.
little chilly here in the hill, but
It's lovely. It's January.
I know, but the frost on the grass looked like snow this morning when I first looked out.
I know. And I know that some people don't really enjoy the white stuff on the ground, but it is one of my favorite things in the universe. And
Yeah,
it's been too long since we've had
yeah,
it. So I'm
yeah.
ready for it again.
It's nice. It's
Yeah.
nice.
So last week,
Mm. Mm.
So it was very unusual that last week we talked about, well, not unusual. It was just incredibly coincidental that last week we talked about anger, and how do you get over or control or figure it out or whatever, manage it. And all the stuff happened last Wednesday. Remember, of course, we say this every time. We tape it on Tuesday, we air it on Thursday. And then because of my funk about stuff that happened, I forgot to post it, which is why lots of you saw it on Friday instead of on Thursday night. And I'm terribly sorry about that. I was in such a funk that several things fell out of my brain. So we've talked for a while again about, should we talk about that? Should we not talk about that? And it's not, and so we're going to start with something first. So, and this is also incredibly timely. So this week, I know some of you are like, what is going to happen next?
What are they going to share next?
I know.
Ooh.
And then when you hear the next words out of my mouth, you're going to be like, I think she may have lost her mind. So it's, it's gone. So this week is the Pennsylvania Farm Show. And I believe it's the 105th anniversary of the Pennsylvania Farm Show. And because of the COVID-19 stuff, it's online and it's all virtual. And I will, first of all, ginormously congratulate the people who have organized the Pennsylvania Farm Show, because if you have not gone on to see some of their stuff, you should. I got to tell you, I'm so excited about it. I've been posting it on our garden site for the Effort Community Garden, at the library, and at the Hub, because there's just so many cool things. So I will absolutely own, when I first moved here to Pennsylvania in 1999 and I was teaching, my students every January would talk about this thing called the Farm Show. And I will absolutely own what I used to think. I used to think it was this, I made up, it was the dumbest, stupidest, who cares thing that people did. And the fact that it was 2 weekends and a whole week, I thought, that's ridiculous. And then I went. And I took back every single thing I ever said about it, plus more, and have been, I'm not a number 1 fan, but I'm a number 7 fan maybe of how cool it is, both in how it celebrates all things agricultural in Pennsylvania, which is the number 1 revenue builder for the state, the way it embraces people at all levels, kids, seniors, those with disabilities, how the tradition of agriculture in this state, even if it's just farm machine manufacturing, but it's way beyond the butter sculpture, which is so cool, and the cool vendor section where you get all the snacks. It's
and milkshakes.
Oh, the milkshakes. I guess there's pop-up places around the state, and I'm not sure where, but I guess the first day of the farm show, when it was virtual on Saturday, a lot of the pop-up places ran out of ingredients to make the milkshakes because everybody was super excited for it.
Wow.
So This is a long story to say that I didn't realize. I chose to not pay attention early. I didn't read. I didn't ask questions.
Mhm.
And I didn't know. And I made up stuff. And it was unkind. And then when I did go, seriously, I would be like the best ambassador. I would go every day.
So thank you for sharing that. And obviously this is not about the farm show,
Right.
but I have to tell you that the first time that I remember going to the farm show, I was actually a freshman in college. And that was actually, my roommate lived in another part of the state, and some of our friends from school all came to my house because I lived the closest to Harrisburg at the time, and we went to the farm show, and it was transformative. It opened my eyes even as a 19-year-old, but I had grown up a little bit. I knew we had family friends who were farmers at the time, and so we knew a little bit about it, but it's not about the farming either. I mean, as you said, it's about agriculture and how do we receive that. But I think the important thing here, Kelly, is that we want our folks to understand is that until we experience something, we don't really understand it.
But I also chose to not learn.
You chose not to learn.
I did. I chose to not learn. I chose to not pay attention. And then I was dismissive about it. And I fully own that. And that taught me a lesson. I mean, it truly taught me a lesson because I was just like you, so transformed by the event.
Yeah.
That I don't do that anymore. I don't make those kinds of decisions because I can hear myself saying to myself, remember the farm show?
Mm-hmm. Mm. I think that's something that we forget. Well, I think we forget is this idea of making a choice. We make a choice in everything that we do.
Yeah.
And, and it is unfortunate sometimes that we do choose to not do something or engage in something or even meet someone because of, and you fill in the blank based on where you are and what you think.
Yeah.
Only to find out at a later point, at a later time, sometimes maybe too late, but hopefully not, that, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's what's going on.
Right. And that I
That's
could have
what
been
this is.
different if I would have learned and embraced rather than been judgy and ignorant.
And dismissive.
And right. Absolutely.
I'm gonna do that.
Absolutely. I thought it was for a bunch of hillbillies. And then I was like, oh no. Oh, I'm totally wrong. I'm 1,000% wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's also for me because I'm missing it. So like a couple of years I couldn't go. A lot of time there's a snowstorm around this time.
Yes.
And so several days it always feels like you can't really go because there's a snowstorm. And it's also hard to like go to the middle of the day because, work and stuff. So that is sometimes difficult. I know.
So
And
maybe you've heard too, over the years since you've been here now, however many years, but native Pennsylvanians know that when the farm show comes, it's going to be bad weather. Whether it's snow or ice, it's going to be bad weather.
Yeah.
And you can always count on not being able to go because, the weather's going to preclude you from going.
Right.
But yeah, and I think that the farm show is a really good image for us with this too, because how many other things have you, our viewers, as well as Kelly and I, chosen not to do something because of an image that we had, that we, like you said, never researched, never checked, never asked, never experienced.
Right. And that you could have been different because of that. And I mean, we're talking, there's a million things about that we have all judged. and then went, I was wrong.
Backpedaling is hard. Backpedaling is very humbling.
And that's why, I mean, when I was a teacher, my students would rave about this. They would like, it's the best. And I was like, they don't know. They don't know what cool is. I did. And then when I went back to them and I said, you are all of you. I apologize, apologize, apologize.
See, I think we forget that, especially when we are in new situations, that someone else has already been there before me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And maybe we forget that we disrespect that person because what do they know?
Right. They don't know. Yeah.
They know.
Right.
Oh, I know it all right. And some may say that, some may think it, but yeah, I don't need to do that. Oh, farm show? That is so hokey.
Right. Until you realize.
Until you do it. Until you become a part of it. Until you experience it. Until you allow yourself to engage in something different than what your mind is telling you.
Right.
And I'm just imagining that the people that are watching this right now are going through their own mental list, as I am listening to this and engaging with this. It's like, oh shoot, how many times have I not been a part of something because in my head I thought it was going to hurt me, or I'm not going to believe it, or there's no way they do that around here.
Or you'd have to change your opinion.
Or yeah.
And that's why I had to own that I was wrong, because my opinion drastically changed because I was so wrong. And so that's one of those things, right? It's easy to, well, it might not be easy to say, but when you have to own that, and I didn't like the farm show. That's what I'm owning. I mean, I get it, but extend that analogy a little further. We've all gone to that place where we're like, oh man, I was wrong.
I have to own that I may have to, this is not the best thing. I may have to eat crow.
Yep.
I may have to apologize. I may have to whatever. And it's okay to do that. It's okay to do that. And I think what happens to, I mean, in my world as a church leader right now, I'm discovering that church is not what it used to be. I mean, even before becoming ordained and even before serving in a congregation somewhere, I had this image of church of what it was as a kid.
Yep.
Well, that's blown out the window.
Right. And for me in social services, a lot of people make huge assumptions about who it is who are our clients.
Oh, yes.
What their needs are and what kind of people they are. And the answer is, you don't know.
You don't know. And you don't know until you've heard their story. You don't know until you've engaged with them.
And sometimes, and I think COVID-19 has really brought this down to earth. For some people, because it's hard, you don't know until you're in that spot. As much as nobody wants to be there. I have absolutely had people who have said to me, I never thought I would ever be in this position, but here I am now. What do I do? And that's when you have to take them by the hand and you have to say, I know.
COVID is one of those things that has been what I'm going to call the great equalizer.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess fortunately and unfortunately at the same moment.
Same moment.
Yeah.
And yes, at the same moment. I mean,
yeah.
It's been unfortunate for many and it's been fortunate for many too, because I think that it has at least created an opportunity for people to look at one another with new eyes.
Mm-hmm.
With new eyes.
So all of this is for us to talk about. So Wednesday happened, last Wednesday, and we talked here about the shift you have to make. And sometimes you have to live it to know it. Sometimes you don't. But both of us, because of what we do, Jim and I, for us, this is a real call to action. But a call to action out of love.
Yes.
If the stuff that happened from Wednesday made you feel sad, upset, nervous, worried, whatever, then and if you just talk about it.
You have an opportunity to do something about it.
Yeah.
You have an opportunity to do something about it. And I mean, in our democracy, we can say it is the vote. Well, yeah, the vote is one thing.
Right.
But then you also need to support the leaders who are voted in. We need to be able to engage with them in whatever way, whether they are part of your political understanding or not. If people have spoken, I think this is the hardest part, is we forget that, we all have to live together. And, and we're not all going to agree on everything.
And call to action can mean so many things too.
Oh.
And it's not, I don't want people to think that we're just talking politics here. Neither one of us do that. Call to action can be, you read a story, you help, you join a committee.
So I want to clarify something, because I'm imagining some people that are saying, well, last Wednesday was a call to action.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to disagree with that statement.
Yeah.
But it was not done out of love.
Right.
Whenever there is violence, whenever there is taking of people's lives, when there is damaging of property.
And deceitfulness.
That is not.
It's not out of love.
That is not acceptable either for anyone. So I think the key point that we want to make sure people do understand is a call to action out of love. Read a story, engage in conversations with your neighbor.
Quilts. And that's the thing. Everybody, I know, a lot of people are like, I don't know how to do anything. I don't know. La 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 la. Put that out your head. Out your head. It's about being nice. It's about holding the door open. It's about giving someone a plant. It's about all the decent, nice, kind, wonderful things.
It's about paying that person's meal behind you in the drive-through window.
Yeah.
It's simple stuff.
It's about waving to a neighbor.
It's about waving to a neighbor. It's about, asking questions.
Yeah.
Questions out of wanting to understand, not questions out of to respond, but questions of like, so tell me your story. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you've experienced.
Because
how you've experienced this.
We've talked about this, and I know there's talking heads. I know that there's been talking heads since, I know. We've all watched the talking heads, and people are like, you're talking heads too. Well, but the conversation is about, well, then what do you do? Because if you do nothing, then you allow the same junk and the funk and the ugh to still be there. And okay, we're not being Pollyanna about this. Does waving to a neighbor change the world? Well,
you don't need to change the world.
Right, you're just waving to
one person. One person is all you need to change.
Right.
One person.
Right. And it's just about every day making that choice. It's about just doing it. I mean, do you, I guess, what's so frustrating is that I'm like, I saw Wednesday one too many times. I never want to see that again. So whatever I have to do, I will do. And it's not like it's prescriptive. It's not like I can just go, okay, first you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and the world is beautiful. Like, that's not how it works. But if you do nothing.
I think the first change with all of that is how I look at others.
Yeah.
And I have to be willing to engage with others, especially people that are different than me, or think differently than me, or have had different experiences than me. And I have to be willing to make myself vulnerable. That's the word. Make myself vulnerable. And it's not a degrading sense. It's not a lessing than, if that's a word, but it's actually really growth. It's called growth. It's called maturity.
It's called maturity, right? I mean, I admitted to all of my students, and if you've never been a teacher, you might not understand what that means. I admitted to 100 17-year-olds that I was wrong in front of them out loud, and said, I was wrong, you were right, all the words I said were incorrect. The words you never even heard were incorrect. And if you've never hung out with 25 17-year-olds, they can be some of the most kind and loving but judgiest people in the world. And they said, you said it, it's fine. And I know you're like, you misjudged the farm show. But in that universe, to those people, that was a huge deal. A lot of my kids drive tractors to school because they think that's the most cool thing in the planet.
And I bet many of them came from agricultural
Absolutely
homes, where that was how they made their living. That was
Absolutely.
was how they were able to be there and who they were.
So I know it's hard. We've got a lot going on right now.
But it takes a lot of courage to be able to say, I misspoke, or I was wrong, or whatever. But it's also much more life-giving to say, thank you for sharing and letting me know. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to experience it. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to hear your story.
Right. So on that note, my friends, find what it is that you will do, or what the things are that you will do. And next week, who knows what will happen next week.
And by the way, if you're not sure how you want to engage, or you have an idea, put it in the comments section down there. We both read them. We both check them out.
We do. Yeah.
What do you mean, Kelly? What do you mean, Jim?
Yeah.
Put your thoughts down there. And I bet between the three of us, that's Kelly, you, and I, we can figure something out with you.
Yeah.
And to support you. We have enough connections, I think, that we could.
Yeah.
You want to try to learn something new, engage in whatever.
Yeah, who gets mad at you when you're kind?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Bye, friends. We'll see you next week.
Have a good week.